Illustrious, I had the distinct pleasure of serving as a department head when Chopper commanded Theodore Roosevelt. And I can tell you from personal experience that he is a naval officer of the highest caliber. You will find no better leader, mentor, or shipmate than Chopper. With all that said, I am honored to be able to call you a friend. Today we gather for three important reasons. First, to honor the long-standing traditions of naval service. Second, to witness the final event in an extraordinary 30-year career. And most importantly, to express our deep respect and appreciation for Chopper and his family. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the national anthem and the invocation. Captain, United States Navy, arriving. Naval Air Station Lemoore, arriving. Naval Air Forces, arriving. Side boys, post.
Side, right, left, three, forward, one.
Color guard, parade the colors.
Out. Breathe, man. Colors.
The national anthem will be performed by Chief Electronics Technician Mary Grace Lacroix.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled
Color guard, retire the colors.
And read. Colors. Ready, shoot. Forward. Up.
Chaplain Espinosa will now offer the invocation.
Good morning. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, the Apostle Paul once exhorted us to do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above ourselves. It is often a rarity to meet someone who is a tangible example of that charge, which is why we give you thanks for this moment when all of us can gather to reflect, celebrate, and even learn from a man who has served his God and his country with humility, integrity, and a passion to put others ahead of personal gain. Still, while the accomplishments and accolades that come with these occasions are well-deserved, it would also be incomplete. So with one voice and one accord, we say thank you, not only to Captain Crozier, but to his faithful and loving family, his bride Mary, and their boys, Connor, Sean, and Ian. May they too be reminded not only of our appreciation, but of your thoughts and love for him that are as countless as the sea beneath us. Father, bless this momentous occasion. Allow us to see, hear, and feel how mightily you can work through someone when we follow a simple but powerful rule you gave us long ago. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. In your holy and saving name, amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Good morning. Can you hear me in the back all right? All right. Okay, so initially I was going to do this at the beach in flip-flops around a bonfire with a beer in hand. And as she does, my lovely wife Mary wisely advised me there's probably a better way to wrap up a career, so I heeded her advice. Right off the bat, I want to thank those that put this together and volunteered their time. Let's please start by recognizing the band, the color guard, Chief Mary Grace LaCroix, our amazing national anthem singer and winner of the future season 21 of American Idol, all the side boys, all the ushers, and all participants. They volunteered to be here on a Saturday in uniform, and they've given to me over the years many of their hard work and their dedication. So please give them all a large round of applause. All the names on the back of the program also deserve recognition, but specifically I want to thank Rex and Chris, wherever they are, 2 retired senior chiefs, and Leo, our MC, again, a good friend and former admin officer on the TR, who all have volunteered to help me out and make sure this thing wasn't a bonfire at the beach, but something much more significant. So thanks for your dedication, Rex, Chris, and Leo. I appreciate your hard work. And it reminded me of exactly how I got through my career. Find the right team to join, be a good team player, and try to do what the coach tells you. And it served me well here today, so thanks, guys. I can't think of a better place to formally retire from the Navy. We're in a beautiful city that Mary and I now are lucky enough to call home. And we are on a historic ship as we celebrate the centennial of the U.S. Naval Aircraft Carriers. So for 100 years, since the commissioning of the USS Langley back in March of 1922 to today, aircraft carriers have been protecting our nation, protecting others throughout the world. And I can't imagine that will change anytime soon, and I'm glad to be here today. Aircraft carriers represent not only the incredible shipbuilding and engineering skills of our country, but also the will of our leaders and of us as taxpayers. to ensure the security on the high seas and the well-being of the entire world. I'm honored to have as well today the Navy's 9th Air Boss, Vice Admiral Kenny Weitzel, and his wife here today. He has the monumental task of leading our nation's naval aviation enterprise throughout the world. All 11 aircraft carriers, 190 squadrons, and almost 100,000 people. I'm also excited to have here today Rear Admiral Steve Barnett and his wife. Big Daddy and I served together many years ago in Millington, Tennessee as HR reps, which we call detailers in the Navy. He's now in charge of all naval installations and bases throughout the entire Southwest. He is a great liaison with the public, provides critical support needed to take care of literally hundreds of billions of dollars of assets, and most importantly, takes great care of our sailors and their families that call this region home. Naval aviation is in good hands with these two in charge. Thanks for being here, gentlemen. And to my family and friends that are here today, thanks. We'll talk more about it later, but as I learned over the years from great mentors like Bolter Bolt, life is about relationships. And I'm excited to have so many amazing relationships with great friends and family who are here today to help Mary and I celebrate. And finally, it is a great honor and privilege to introduce one of the Navy's premier leaders, a former squadron mate and fellow instructor, and most importantly, a great friend, Captain Buzz Peterson. Buzz and I first met on the flight line right over there in North Island back in 2002, so 20 years ago. So he'd been out practicing CQs, so practicing landing day and night on the aircraft carrier. And I was in San Diego getting ready to fly out in an F-18 for the first time to do just that and qualify in an F-18. His aircraft, though, had a malfunction. So when I met him, he was walking down the flight line, and his aircraft was precariously parked to one side because he had a flat tire. And you can imagine, for a bunch of new pilots getting ready to head out for the first time, we were a little intimidated by the scene. But Buzz instantly put us at ease. He was smiling, outgoing, and a combat-proven, salty fleet aviator, and exactly what we needed to boost our confidence as we headed out to the ship for the first time. Buzz and I would later fly together in VFA 97 on board the USS Nimitz for the kickoff of Iraqi freedom. We'd be instructors together in VFA 125 for a couple years shortly after that. And even most recently, we served together as crusty senior captains and instructors, teaching the Navy's newest generation of fighter pilots how to fly the F-18. And getting the chance to fly on the Moor and up in the Sierras with VFA 122. Our goal was always to see who could give out the most aboves on a flight as we competed for the informal but coveted Santa Claus Award. Buzz was also kind enough to fly with me on his last flight, my last flight a couple weeks ago, and there was no one I would rather have had as my wingman. His wife Maria and 2 kids are here today, and they've been my second family over the last year as I make monthly trips up to Lemoore to practice my flying. Thanks for joining us today. And as you can see from Buzz's distinguished bio, he's served all over the world. He's flown over 80 combat missions. He led a squadron of the Navy's newest F-18 Super Hornets, and he's currently the CO of the Navy's Master Jet Base up in Lemoore, and in charge of taking care of dozens of squadrons, hundreds of aviators, and thousands of sailors and their families. Buzz, we've come a long way since 2002. He's truly a great leader, an amazing friend, family man, and it is my honor to have him here today up on stage. Just please give him a warm round of applause.
Good morning. So, we're going to do this with a little bit of technology because the printer at the Navy Lodge wasn't working. And to start off, bookending the Navy career here. Tape. And then, in honor of one hell of a cruise, there we go. So, like Chopper said, we've been together a long time. We've known each other a long time, but almost everything after that he said about me was a lie. So take it with a grain of salt. All right. Let's open the big text version. So I want to start by saying that all of us should remember that Brett Crozier is above all an honorable man and a person that we all appreciate. I want to thank Vice Admiral Whitesell. I want to thank Admiral Barnett, but I also want to thank all of Chopper's friends for being here, because that's what we all are today, right? We're all Chopper's friends here to see him off after a long and storied Navy career. I have been given the distinct pleasure and honor to say a few things about Chopper. He gave me some advice about him. I'm going to disregard it. We served together in the Warhawks, like he said, and there were many stories that were probably best left unsaid. Or should they? Nothing suits a retirement more than a little bit of levity about the person retiring. So let's remind everyone about the time that Chopper first introduced me to his habit of finding a place to swim at every port of call. It was Hawaii. We were outbound in 2003, and he had been stationed there as a JO in his first tour in the fleet, flying rotary wing aircraft. And we learned very quickly that you needed to be prepared. He was wearing board shorts. I don't know if the rest of us were, but we all needed to get in the water sometime around midnight on that first night in Waikiki. Chopper's luck held, because even though he lost his military ID from the pocket of his board shorts on that first night ashore, which meant why go back to the ship because you didn't need to until the last day, some kind soul found that ID and returned it. So when he sheepishly walked up the quarterdeck to say, I can't find my ID, here it is, sir. Welcome aboard. Let's go on cruise. And that habit continued, port after port. There's a department head of ours who thought it was such an exciting and fun thing to do that he dove headfirst off a quay in Singapore, leaving us all with our hearts in his mouth, wondering if he would pop up out of that brackish water. But he did. And today he's a U.S. astronaut and has already served a tour aboard the space station. So we've survived that. There's some other fun stories that we should remember about that time. I don't remember a lot of it, but I do know that, kind of like a game of Frogger, it was Chopper that got me across the street and 8 lanes of Bahraini traffic to the Howard Johnson's, the highest quality motel in all of Bahrain, so we could spend the night. But I don't believe a word of what you said about how I had a pass on that bet. You still owe me. More recently, Chopper has continued to engage in his shenanigans, giving Mary multiple heart attacks as he tried to ponder what his next career was going to be. Which is why he contacted the San Diego Police Department for first a ride-along, followed by another ride-along, followed by signing up for their fitness test. And believe it or not, he beat more than half of the 18-year-olds. They recruited him. They were coming after him. And I think there was a period of time where Mary was really afraid that he was going to trade his blue for another blue. I think it's time to give that dream up. There's also been a lot of fun weekends as we spent time at the Agriturismo Girardi Peterson up in Lemoore. Chopper's been kind enough to come up and fly and stay with my family and I. And both of us did tours in Italy, so we appreciate the finer things in cuisine. We're kind of a bit of foodies. And because of that, I have been the bane of Mary's kitchen existence as devices have appeared, been purchased, taken up counter space. Knowing that you're moving to a smaller place, I promise all gifts for the near future are consumables only. Okay? No more kitchen devices. Stay away. Though the Pavoni cappuccinos are pretty nice, aren't they? It was worth it. It was worth it. And then, what Chopper didn't tell you was we managed to make it back out to that boat. We managed to CQ, and we managed to go out to the Warhawks. A representative Corsair right behind you there. If you're looking at the finest squadron in the fleet, it's right there. But we had probably the most packed and interesting JO tour you could have during workouts. We survived a lot of challenges. We survived some different forms of leadership. Survived it in such a notable way that every aviator here has probably read about that squadron at the Safety Center as an example of command climate. And we came through it. And the Warhawks from 2002-2003 are a really tight bunch because of it. We never forgot how we got through it as JOs together. We got through it as family together. And that's what Chopper has always taught me, is how to how to treat everyone as a fellow human being, an important person, not just another sailor, not just another squadron mate, but someone that you care about deeply. And that exemplifies Chopper's honor. Now I want you to think that I'm going to wrap this up, so I want to quote a Marine corporal, a famous man. He raised the flag over Mount Suribachi. Ira Hayes once said that no one has ever complained about a short speech, so I'm not going to dig in here, even though I want to wax poetic about history. But some of you might note that on 5 March, Ernest Shackleton's ship, the Endurance, was found beneath the Antarctic. Ernest Shackleton was an incredible man. He was a man of honor. He took a crew of about 28 down onto the ice, got trapped in the ice, spent almost 500 days off afloat or on the ice pack before their ship was sunk. 500 days in 1914 in the Antarctic. No radio, no telegram, nothing. No one knew where they were. Then another 5 months on a windswept barren island before he took off with 4 other men on a rescue mission to sail 700 miles across the Antarctic Sea in a 20-foot rowboat to rescue all 28 of the crew. They all made it home. Now, what do you think kept those 28 people together? It wasn't that Shackleton was the boss, which they called him. It was that they trusted him. They saw his honor, and they understood that he was the leader they wanted to follow. Not that they had to follow, but they wanted to follow. And that, Chopper, is you in spades. Honor is the first word in the Navy's values, and there's a reason for it. You're an honorable man, you have served honorably, and you deserve everyone's accolades today. So I'd like everyone to please give a round of applause for Captain Brett Chopper Crozier.
Will the guests please rise? Get back up. Stealing my thunder, Captain. Thank you. Attention to award. The President of the United States takes pleasure in presenting the Legion of Merit Medal, Gold Star in lieu of the third award to Captain Brett E. Crozier, United States Navy. For service is set forth in the following citation. For exceptionally meritorious conduct in the performance of outstanding service as Assistant Chief of Staff for Force Readiness at Commander, Naval Air Force, U.S. Pacific Fleet from July 2020 to March 2022. Captain Crozier's unrivaled understanding of complex readiness standards and resource requirements were instrumental in positioning naval aviation for all required readiness levels, managing the $7.8 billion flying hour program, and ensuring the combat readiness of 5 carrier air wings. His skillful management of master aviation plans during the coronavirus pandemic enabled key force structure decisions supporting the future of naval aviation. He inspired maximum fleet readiness squadrons, strike fighter pilot production to ensure fleet strike fighter squadrons and electronic attack squadrons were manned with combat air crew to the greatest extent possible. Additionally, he led the development of revolutionary training and readiness metrics using data-driven analytics and rigorous modeling to construct strategic Naval Air Force's readiness and resourcing briefings. His superior performance of duties highlights the culmination of 30 years of honorable and dedicated service. Captain Crozier's exceptional professionalism, personal initiative, and loyal devotion to duty reflect great credit upon him and were in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. For the President, K.R. Weitzel, Vice Admiral, United States Navy, Commander, Naval Air Force, U.S. Pacific Fleet. Will the guests please be seated? Admiral Weitzel will now present Captain Crozier with a certificate of appreciation from the President of the United States. Presented to Captain Brett E. Crozier, I extend to you my personal thanks and the sincere appreciation of a grateful nation for your contribution of honorable service to our country. You have helped maintain the security of the nation during a critical time in its history with a devotion to duty and a spirit of sacrifice in keeping with the proud traditions of military service. Your commitment and dedication have been an inspiration for those who will follow in your footsteps and for all Americans who join me today in saluting you for a job extremely well done. My best wishes to you for happiness and success in the future. Signed, Joseph R. Biden, Commander-in-Chief. Captain Crozier has also received certificates of appreciation from the former President, George W. Bush, and the Governor of California, Gavin Newsom. Usher, please escort Captain Crozier's family to the front of the stage. Admiral Weitzel will now present certificates of appreciation to Captain Crozier's family. This is to certify that Mary, Connor, Sean, and Ian, by the authority vested in me, it is my pleasure to express the grateful appreciation of the United States Navy to you for your unselfish, patriotic, and devoted service during your husband and father's military career. Your unfailing support and understanding helped immeasurably to make possible his lasting contribution to the nation. To those who say a single man cannot make a difference, I say wrong. Your husband and father did. He made our nation stronger and kept our nation safe. With his service to the Navy now complete, he will be able to spend more time with you in the future. The United States Navy thanks you and I thank you. Given this 26th day of March, signed K.R. Weitzel, Vice Admiral, United States Navy, Commander, Naval Air Forces, U.S. Pacific Fleet. Thank you, Admiral. Ladies and gentlemen, the man of the hour, Captain Brett Chopper Crozier.
All right, you still hear me back there, right? Okay. 34 years ago, this month, #1 movie was Good Morning Vietnam with Robin Williams. The top movie, or the top song on the Billboard, was another Michael Jackson hit. And I received a letter in the mail, because back then we didn't have email, right? And so I got a letter in the mail from the Naval Academy. And that would change my life. I didn't quite realize it then, but I've been given a fast path, like a Disney fast pass, for a life of adventure and education beyond my wildest dreams. In high school, I might have seen Top Gun once or twice and likely drove my four-door 1974 red Datsun 610. Where's Mary Jo? Thank you for that car. I probably drove that a little bit faster on the way home from those movies. And my goal above all else was to fly. I didn't care if it was helicopters or jets, and I would have gladly skipped college and gone straight to flight school if they had let me, which fortunately they did. I was even lucky enough to get my first free haircut from some of my high school buddies, some of whom are here today. And for the record, I've been doing my best to kind of grow it out, even though I'm always probably right on the edge of Navy regs. So thanks for being here. So it was with a content smile on my face today that I look back over the years since March of 1988 and think of all the many things I've experienced, places I've been, adventures I've had, people I've met, and skills and lessons that I've learned. And because I believe that one secret to life is you should never stop learning, I kind of look at today as more of a graduation than a retirement. My son Sean will graduate and commission here soon, and then Ian graduates high school shortly thereafter, so we're going to call it another family graduation. And I was fortunate to learn a bunch along the way. How to fly helicopters, how to fly jets, how to take a reactor critical, how to drive ships, and how to follow and lead in the world's greatest Navy. So retirement sounds too final. And there are still many things I hope to learn and do in the future before I feel comfortable really retiring. For most institutions, of course, a thesis is required to graduate. So I'll use my speech today to present my thesis. But as my academy classmates will tell you, I was a math major and therefore a very slow writer. So I probably should have been spending more time in the library writing this, but instead I chose to write this speech, or at least think about what I wanted to say while sitting on my surfboard over the last week and contemplating the incredible time in the service that I've had. As folks from my most recent job at the headquarters will attest to, I never missed an opportunity to surf, at least when work was slow. I've learned many things over the years, but I'll keep it to 3 since that's all you're going to likely remember, and I'll keep them simple because I don't have enough time to teach all of you how to hover, dogfight, park a carrier pierside, and many out there already know how to do those things pretty well. Except dogfighting. Proton, I can still teach you a little bit about that. Instead, I'll talk about 3 things that I've learned or were reminded of over my career that I think are worth sharing with everyone here today. These 3 things will be about Clydesdales, surfing, and espresso. So first, pull like a Clydesdale. When I was the XO of the Ronald Reagan aircraft carrier, I was fortunate to work closely with a guy named Senior Chief Forsman. He was the damage chief controlman for the entire ship, and he was in charge of all the efforts on the ship. So his responsibilities were many, from emergency services, fire prevention, firefighting, damage control, and even things like chemical, biological, and radiological warfare defense. Senior Forsman had not only seen some stuff through his career, but he had risen through the ranks to the point where he was directly in charge of a team of 100 sailors and responsible for the firefighting training of all 5,000 of us on board. He was exceptionally quiet and a matter-of-fact guy, so when he actually had something to say, my ears always perked up, even when I wasn't sure if he was pulling my leg. So one day he said, hey XO, and we were in DC Central, which is the center part of a carrier where we monitor the status of the ship, the list, the fuel, the reactor status, fire stuff. He said, sir, how much weight do you think a Clydesdale can pull? I don't know, Senior. I said 5,000 pounds. You're pretty close, sir, he said. Somewhere between 2,000 and 8,000 pounds. That's max. So how much weight do you think a team of 2 Clydesdales can pull? All right, so I wasn't sure he was getting at, but I played along. All right, I'm going to go somewhere between 4,000 and 16,000 pounds. 16,000 pounds max. My math degree quickly coming into play. Wrong, he said with a smile. When they work together, 2 Clydesdales can pull 24,000 pounds. And if properly trained, that goes up to 32,000 pounds. But I said, the math doesn't work. Sure it does, sir. And with that, he stood up, walked away, leaving me to chew on that little nugget he had shared with me. Senior Chief actually never spoke about it again, and I don't even know if it was true. I should probably Google it and Wikipedia it. But the essence of his message was a reminder of what I learned on the ball fields as a kid and continue to learn and relearn, whether airborne or at sea, throughout my career. We are stronger when we work together. Whether you're in the military or not, you can accomplish a lot more as part of a team. Assemble a group of people who understand their collective goal, the importance of what they're doing, and each person's value to the organization, and there's no limit to what can be accomplished. I believe one of the reasons a military career, particularly in naval aviation, is attracted to so many people is because more often than not, and more often than other professions, it resembles a team sport. From the language we use to describe our activities, to the ready rooms and locker rooms we share when we brief for flights, suit up in our flight gear, aviators tend to be ex-jocks who are comfortable in the field or court as they are in the air. And because of that background, we're really good at adopting a team mentality and carrying it forward to every aspect of our jobs. So with that in mind, I spent most of my career trying to remain keenly aware of the fact that I was only one cog in a massive machine that was dependent on each of its parts to function efficiently and successfully. From the youngest cook on the mess decks to the most senior fighter pilot dropping a precision-guided weapon in combat, every job was as important as the next. So if you remember one thing today as you sit on this old aircraft carrier that has seen combat numerous times, with dozens of different types of aircraft to have landed on our deck, and thousands of sailors living and working on board, remember that naval aviation and life is a team sport. Naval aviation is a team of brothers and sisters, all Clydesdales pulling together, that I was honored to be part of over the last 30 years. A profession of teammates at all levels that went out of the way to take care of Mary and I after we left the TR, and a team that I was proud to see both my oldest son Connor join and serve as a helicopter air crewman, my middle son Sean join and soon commission before he heads down to flight school in the Navy this summer. Naval aviation is our family business, a team I am proud to have been part of. That's what's cool about living in San Diego. You just claim the flag. Thanks, boss. All right, so the first one was pull like a Clydesdale. The second lesson is surf when you can. So a famous philosopher once said, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. That, of course, was the legendary Dr. Bueller. And if I had to guess, he'd say that surfing was one good way to slow down and look around. But let me be honest, as many in the audience will attest to, I still have a lot to learn about surfing. As a California kid, I surfed a few times in my youth, but never lived close enough to the ocean to make it a habit, so it never stuck. And to be fair, the water in Northern California, it's pretty darn cold up there. But in Hawaii, however, the water was warm, surfing was life, and life was surfing. So when I arrived at Barbers Point for my first squadron tour in 1995 with Mary to join HSL 37 Easy Riders, and there's a couple Easy Riders here today, I was young, Mary and I had no children, and my professional responsibilities were initially relatively light outside of flying helicopters. If I ever wanted to learn how to surf, this was the time. We surfed as a squadron every Friday morning at the local break, and my close friend, Big Wave Dave Vodka, and I did our best to hide our inexperience. Over the course of the tour, I found that for me, surfing represented balance, a conscious commitment to every aspect of my health and wellness, from the physical to the emotional to the spiritual. And believe it or not, it was this commitment to the things outside my work that allowed me to thrive inside my work. And I believe that holds true today. And I still surf my old surfboard that I bought with Mary back in Hawaii, but the board, like me, is beginning to show some signs of age. It's covered in wax, has dings all over it, scratches, and the once bright green triangle on the nose is a faded, dull memory. Once in a while, I think about replacing it, but every time I do, I remember that every dent tells a story, and together those stories are woven into the very story of my life and career. Even more, that board is a reminder to me that life is more than just work. So whether your surfboard is a church, a set of golf clubs, a basketball, a yoga mat, the message rings true all the same. Surf when you can. I guarantee you'll enjoy life more, and you'll likely be better at work for it. Okay, final one, third. And Buzz already talked about time in Italy and espresso, but my third one is never turn down espresso. So in 2010, Barry and I and the boys were given orders to live in Italy, where I would serve as a U.S. staff officer in a NATO command in charge of military operations in the Med. My family and I were stationed in Naples, Italy, a chaotic city that we often called a pretty lady with dirty feet. Professionally, my days in Naples were almost exclusively spent in the office doing staff work. So it was not a welcome situation for a former Navy fighter pilot fresh from command, but I was no stranger to long hours at a desk, and I knew I could get the job done. Yet I would learn there was more than one way to skin a cat. You see, it's very easy for us as Americans to wear our work ethic as a badge of honor. We work hard, and we work a lot. To the contrary, Europeans seem often at times to float through life, gracefully balancing their considerable work responsibilities with the other parts of their lives. For one thing, Europeans are very good about taking vacation every year, sometimes for as long as a month at a time. We witnessed that fact during our 2 years in Naples. No matter what was going on in the rest of the world, the Italians and others made a point of taking time off. On the other hand, in the military, you earn 2.5 days of vacation every month, so 30 days a year. But I've known very few people that have actually been able to take advantage of that on a regular basis every year, let alone all at one time. So that was my personal bias when I walked into work that first day. I was part of a 12 nations NATO staff. We called ourselves Strike Force NATO. And the goal was to coordinate military operations throughout the Med. And so as part of the contributions from the Navy, I was in charge of maritime air operations in the Med and the Baltic area. And I was often frustrated in those early days by my colleagues, many of whom did not seem to share my sense of urgency for critical PowerPoint briefs and constant instruction rewrites. And while I love coffee as much as the next guy, the Italians, and Bruiser will attest this, they love their coffee. So much so, in fact, that every day at around 9 and 11, and usually again at 2, they would stop whatever they were doing to venture out to a local cafe for espresso. And in their classic Italian way, they always invited everyone in the office to join. So initially, I was resistant to the idea. There was always a task for me to do that was far more important than something as trivial as espresso. And in my mind, it was the Americans who were doing the lion's share of the work, while the European officers were always disappearing for their coffee breaks. But then I met Luigi Fazio. So Luigi was lieutenant colonel in the Italian Navy, a portly-ish kind of 50-year-old gentleman with dark eyes set into a round face that just radiated kindness, and he was always smiling. Every morning, Luigi would invite me for coffee, and every morning I politely refused. And finally, one day, Luigi spoke up. He said, "Chopper," in his broken English. Americans think that if you work hard, we're going to trust you. But what you really need to do is spend time outside of work with us so we can get to know you. Then we can trust you. That is the essence of trust. So I considered Luigi's comments and realized he was probably right. Here we'd been working elbow to elbow for months, but I knew little about the people I was sharing space with other than the professional duties and responsibilities. So I went for espresso with Luigi and the others. We went at 9, we went at 11, and more often than not, we went again at 2. And so soon that first reluctant trip to the cafe became a ritual and a welcome break to step outside of the realm of work and into the lives of my new friends. 8 months later, NATO was called into action when Gaddafi mobilized his forces against his own people after they'd organized a series of anti-government rallies in Benghazi, which is a large city up in the northeast corner of Libya. As the protests intensified, Gaddafi began using lethal force against them. So in surprisingly swift fashion, the UN Security Council condemned his actions and authorized the military force against Gaddafi's army in a NATO mission called Operation Unified Protector. It was grueling work. I didn't sleep for more than a few hours each night for weeks. Every waking moment seemed to be dedicated to planning ship and aircraft movements, identifying targets, coordinated events, and a million other details that go into planning combat operations on a foreign soil. But in those hectic, stressful moments, when there was seemingly insurmountable amount of work to get done and lives on the line, the Europeans, those people that I had once thought were lazy staffers, always dashing off for espresso, they were right there beside me, working day and night. They refused to go home until I did, and they were constantly trying to figure out ways to do things better and smarter, and they were never afraid of hard work. And through it all, we continued our espresso breaks. Because as Luigi will tell you to this day, it was the friendships we had forged and the culture of camaraderie we had built that actually enabled us to work better in the end when it mattered. So not only did we become friends, we also became better professionals along the way. So just like with Clydesdales, that experience reminded me that life is about relationships. And the team is stronger when the connection between its parts are stronger. And that certainly proved true during my time in the Navy, and I believe it proves true through life as well. And I still have a very expensive espresso machine that I bought in Italy. All right, so there's an old saying. If you see a turtle on top of a fence post, you know it did not get there by itself. So as I stand here at the end of my 30-year career, a turtle on a fence post, as it were, there are many folks that I want to thank for helping me get here today. Looking around, I realize that I have school friends here from Santa Rosa, the Naval Academy, and every tour that I've been part of since I was commissioned till today. They've remained loyal friends and shipmates from the start. Thank you. And extremely important to me are the sailors and shipmates from all squadrons, the Reagan, the Blue Ridge, and the TR, and I was lucky enough to serve with and are here today. Thank you. My in-laws, aunts, uncles, relatives, godparents, neighbors, and extended family from Santa Rosa. I appreciate all the support you've given us over the years, starting way back when I was a little kid, still figuring out the world. You all remain a huge positive influence in my life. Thanks. My three sisters, Bridget, Becky, and Betsy. Their husbands, Todd, Tim, and Ryan. The nieces, nephews. As your big brother, I couldn't have asked for better siblings to grow up with, and I look forward to spending more time with you in the coming years. Thanks for your tremendous support. And happy birthday, Cal, for dressing up. Thanks. My parents, Bob and Gina, you certainly provided me more love and support than any one kid ever deserves, and obviously it was at the expense of my sisters. Thanks for all that you have done and the unwavering support that you've given me over the years, and the great example you continue to provide after over 50 years of marriage. And Mom, I'm just glad the Naval Academy recruiter didn't listen to you when you thought I should be a dancing priest instead of a Navy pilot. Sorry, chaps. My boys, Connor, Sean, and Ian, you keep me young at heart and always excited to learn new things. Thanks for joining me on hikes, backpacking trips, science experiments, surfing sessions, movie binges, New Year's Eve PT sessions, baseball games, and all the adventures we've had around the world. I would never have stayed in the Navy as long as I did were it not for the great support you've given to me over the years. Thanks for stoically changing schools, baseball and soccer teams, Boy Scout troops, friends, and houses over a dozen times along the way. Mary and I decided long ago that we would never split our forces for the sake of convenience. And while that meant more transitions for you guys and more moves, we're stronger as a family, and you guys are definitely stronger young men as a result. So thanks. And finally, Mary. They say in life, one of the most important decisions you ever make will be who you choose to marry. If you choose correctly, that single decision can lead to a life of happiness that will eclipse whatever you do, well or poorly in life. In my case, I got that decision right. Unlike me, Mary hates attention. I probably already exceeded the 10 seconds I promised her. But let me go on just a little bit longer. Mary's been an absolute best partner, friend, and wingman I could have ever asked for. No matter what I was doing or where I was doing in the world over the last 30 years, Mary and the family she built kept me grounded and were who I first turned to for support. She was the family's CEO, CFO, CSO, life coach, photographer, and stylist. And somehow did that seamlessly despite 20 moves in 30 years to include 3 overseas moves. Not only has she mostly kept me out of trouble, but she's raised 3 amazing boys and even found time to start a successful tech company that supports nonprofits and hires dozens of veterans and military spouses around the country. So one of my favorite movies and you know how much I like movies by now, is Raiders of the Lost Ark. In that movie, the heroine opposite Indiana Jones is a lady named Marion Ravenwood. So if there's ever someone I looking for in life as a kid, it was someone like Marion. Beautiful, freckled, strong-willed, and adventurous. Mary, although you thankfully can't drink whiskey quite as well as Marion does, you are all those things and more. And I am so glad you said yes almost 30 years ago, and I look forward to the future adventures wherever they may take us. Love you. All right, so when I joined the Navy to fly 34 years ago, I stayed for the people. People I met along the way, people that I deployed with, flew with, surfed with, played softball with, and went to war with. People I served with, worked for, and at times was privileged to lead. People that ensured we were ready to deploy, and people that stayed home and took care of our family and friends while we were gone. After 3 decades of service, I'm glad to say that my faith remains in people. Individuals, and they haven't let me down. And when these individuals are part of an organization like the Navy, which values them as a team and as individuals, they can accomplish anything and they can defeat any foe. I will never forget what I learned along the way in the Navy. Be a good teammate, find balance in what you do, and remember that life is about relationships. Or as I like to remember it, pull like a Clydesdale, surf when you can, and never turn down espresso. I've been lucky. I chose a path 34 years ago that I couldn't see clearly nor truly understand at the time. A path that I have found both rewarding and challenging, and much more fulfilling than I'd ever hoped for as an 18-year-old kid from Northern California. A career of adventure, travel, excitement, and most importantly, friendships and family. So thanks to all of you for being here today and for helping me out at some point along that journey. But before I finish, I must give a final shout out to all those that are still serving in the military, wherever they may be. Even as war rumbles in Europe, they stand ready and on watch across the globe, in the air, at sea, and ashore. All of them volunteers who join for adventure and rewards, but mostly because of a steadfast belief in something bigger than themselves. Never forget them, nor what they stand for. Our nation and our way of life are better because of them. So as a final reminder of what I used to say at the end of any announcement on the TR of the Blue Ridge, and something I will strive to live by well beyond my time in the Navy. Shipmates, family, and friends, keep your head on a swivel, keep your eye on a shipmate, and be ready for the fight when the day comes. Thanks.
Captain Crozier has asked Captain Pete Reeby to read "O Glory." Prepare the passing of the flag. Flag detail. Post. The guests could please be seated.
Flag detail. Hold.
I am the flag of the United States of America. My name is Old Glory. I fly atop the world's tallest buildings. I stand watch in America's halls of justice. I fly majestically over great institutions of learning. I stand guard with the greatest military power in the world. Look up and see me. I stand for peace, honor, truth, and justice. I stand for freedom. I am confident. I am arrogant. I am proud. When I'm flown with my fellow banners, my head is held a little higher. My colors are a little truer. I bow to no one. I am recognized all over the world. I am worshipped, I am saluted, I am respected, I am revered, I am loved, and I am feared. For more than 200 years, I have fought in every battle of every war. Gettysburg, Shiloh, Appomattox, San Juan Hill, the trenches of France, the Argonne Forest, Anzio, Rome, the beaches of Normandy, the jungles of Guam, Okinawa, Tarawa, Korea, Vietnam, in the heat of the Persian Gulf and the mountains of Afghanistan, and a score of other places, long forgotten by all but those who were there with me. I was there. I led my sailors and Marines. I followed them. I watched over them. They loved me. I was on a small hill on Iwo Jima. I was dirty, battle-torn, and tired, but my sailors and Marines cheered me. I was proud. I've been soiled, burned, torn, trampled on the streets of countries that I had helped set free. It does not hurt, for I am invincible. I've been soiled, burned, torn, and trampled on the streets of my own country. And when it's done by those who I've served in battle, it hurts. But I shall overcome, for I am strong. I have slipped the surly bonds of earth, and from my vantage point on the moon, I stand over the new frontiers of space. I've been the silent witness to all of America's finest hours. But my finest hour comes when I'm torn into strips to be used as bandages for my wounded comrades on the field of battle. When I fly half-mast to honor my sailors and Marines. When I lie in the trembling arms of a grieving mother at the gravesite of her fallen son or daughter. I am proud. Captain Crozier, you and I have seen the end of Cold War, the fall of communism. Together, you and I, we have seen a resurgence of patriotism, respect for me and America. Now take me, guard me, protect me, and honor me. My name is Old Glory. Long may I wave, dear God, long may I wave.
Ladies and gentlemen, the flag presented to Captain Crozier was proudly flown over the USS Theodore Roosevelt. This flag represents all of the American flags under which he has served, from many flagpoles, jackstaffs, and main masts. It has flown over him and his shipmates as they stood to watch. It has covered the caskets of shipmates who have given their last full measure of devotion. This flag is presented to Miss Mary Crozier as a token of appreciation of a grateful Navy and nation. Flag detail. Post. Lieutenant Alex Membreno will now read the watch.
For 30 years, this sailor has stood the watch. While some of us were in our racks at night, this sailor stood the watch. While some of us were in school learning our trade, this shipmate stood the watch. Yes, even before some of us were born into this world, this shipmate stood the watch. In those years when the storm clouds of war were seen brewing on the horizon of history, this shipmate stood the watch. Many times he would cast an eye ashore and see his family standing there, needing his guidance and help, needing that hand to hold during those hard times. But he still stood the watch. He stood the watch for 30 years. He stood the watch so that we, our families, and our fellow countrymen could sleep soundly in safety each and every night, knowing that a sailor stood the watch. Today we're here to say, shipmate, the watch stands relieved. Relieved by those you have trained, guided, and led. Shipmate, you stand relieved. We have the watch.
Will the guests please rise and remain standing for the benediction and the departure of Captain Crozier and the Crozier family. Chaplain Espinosa will now offer the benediction.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, as we close, we ask for your richest blessings and favor to follow the Crozier family. Would you lead them, protect them, and sustain them as they enter a new season? A season that we pray would be filled with well-deserved rest, true joy, and a peace that surpasses all understanding. And in those short moments of discouragement that we all experience at times, may Captain Crozier look fondly at his naval career and remember those of us he has touched, those that will forever call him chopper, friend, mentor, our beloved skipper. Now may the Lord bless and keep the Crozier family. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. In Christ's name, amen.
Side boys, post. Captain Crozier will now request permission to go ashore for the last time.
All right, Captain Trace.
Bosun, stand by to pipe the side. Captain, United States Navy, retired, departing. Captain, United States Navy, and family, retired, departing. Ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony has concluded. You're cordially invited to the post-ceremony reception, located right over there.